He called you a cowboy. What did he mean? What are you?
Just a humble bounty hunter, ma'am.
Salutations, folks. So, tonight we're going to be talking about Cowboy Bebop Knockin' on Heaven's Door. Or, in America, on our DVDs, it's titled Cowboy Bebop the Movie. Which is significantly worse. That bothers me quite a bit that they changed it, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So, Cowboy Bebop is a 2001 action anime classic. For those of you who aren't familiar with the show that the film is based on, it's essentially a space western set in the year 2071. And it follows a group of bounty hunters who track criminals all over the solar system, and they're always sort of down on their luck. They're usually poor, just scraping by one gig to the next. And there's all sorts of badass, Western and Kung Fu movie inspired action along the way. It also has some noir tones in certain episodes. It's incredible, incredible stuff. The television show that this film is based off of came out in the late 90s, 98 I believe. This film, of course, came out in 2001, and it is incredible. So while this film is based off of a television series, you don't necessarily need to have seen it in order to watch and enjoy the film. It is going to help if you're already fond and familiar with these characters, but you don't necessarily need to have watched the 26 episode series in order to connect with the characters or understand the story. So in the 90s, Cartoon Network brought anime to Western audiences with its programming block Toonami, which still runs today, and the genre has become increasingly popular ever since. But, there's a lot of people in America that don't have any desire to watch anime. And, I understand from an outsider's perspective, anime can be very I'm trying to think of a nice way for it, like quirky and off-putting and nonsensical. And that stuff's fun too, but this isn't what you might imagine anime to look like if you're someone who's shied away from the genre for all these years. Compared to other animes, be it television or film, this is a really accessible one to get into for Western audiences. Western films and noir films and jazz music are all very big inspirations for this film. You can see shades of it anywhere you look in Cowboy Bebop, right alongside the homages to old kung fu films. So, I'm someone with zero drawing capabilities. Like, that little sharp diamond looking S thing you would try to draw in 5th grade? Have not mastered that yet. So I'm the least qualified person to talk about the quality of someone else's drawings, but rest assured, from what my vastly untalented eyes can see, this animation is hands down some of the best I've ever seen, anime or otherwise. There is not a single frame in this film that I wouldn't have as a poster on my wall. It would take a lot of walls to do that, but you know what I mean. Searching for flaws in Knockin' on Heaven's Door is a borderline Herculean task. I've seen the film, I think, 10 times now, and I have 3. The first of which is incredibly inconsequential. I feel like most people wouldn't even notice it. There's a decision that our protagonist Spike makes during a fight that feels off character-wise for me, but I could be wrong. I often watch this film while herbally enhanced, and use words like vibe to describe things, so if that doesn't sound like you, you're probably not going to have a problem with it. The other two issues that I have with the film are more or less, they're sort of a cultural time capsule, I suppose would be a optimistic way of putting them. One particular scene that bothers me is, I think, 30 seconds long, and it's a light-hearted scene that has some homophobic and possibly transphobic jokes in there. And it's inconsequential to the rest of the film. It happens and it's gone equally as quickly, but it doesn't necessarily pass the vibe check for me. And I feel like for a lot of people, especially a lot of people inclined to watch anime, it might not pass the vibe check in 2021. 20 years ago, I'm sure no one noticed it, but now it just feels, the film's showing its age in a comedic sense. The other one is a scene of sexual assault. It's not, I don't want to give an example and spoil another film. It's not as graphic as another film that I've reviewed on this channel, but it is there, and it's not exactly handled with the level of sensitivity that, you would find in a 2021 Cowboy Bebop, which is coming out. There's a live-action adaptation. I believe it's coming out in October, if not late September of 2021 when this is, being uploaded. But yeah, the level of sensitivity towards the subject, not quite where you might want it to be nowadays. Those are the only flaws that I can find in this film. It is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if you're stacking this film up against anime. I don't care if you're stacking this film up against action films. I don't care what it is, what you're comparing it to, what class of film you're putting this in. This film is a masterpiece. So I'm someone with virtually no ear for music. I have about the same amount of rhythm as an accordion falling down a set of stairs. But Bebop fans would put a bounty on my head if I didn't talk about the music in this film, so let me just say that the composer for this film, Yoko Kanno, is fucking brilliant. I don't know any other way to put it. If you're at all into music, I encourage you to look up the intro song to Cowboy Bebop, Knockin' on Heaven's Door. It's called Ask DNA by the Seatbelts. I'll probably link it down below. Incredible stuff. I also really think you should listen to Powder off of this soundtrack. I'll link that as well. It's all incredible music in here. Like, I can't do the stomping and clapping thing to We Will Rock You, but even I can understand that there's some kick-ass tunes in this film. Be it the TV series or the film, one thing that Cowboy Bebop manages to do expertly is make you fall for characters with very little knowledge about them. You just get sucked into the vibe of these characters. And there is no better example for me than the antagonist of this film, Vincent.
Go on. Pull the trigger.
I don't think so. I blow the bounty if I blow you away.
I have no fear of death. It just means dreaming in silence. A dream that lasts for eternity.
You're an original, aren't you?
Vincent is the criminal that our bounty hunters are chasing after in this film, and they soon realize that they're walking into something way bigger than a criminal on the run. I don't exactly know how to adequately describe how much I like Vincent without divulging plot details. So I think the best way I could describe Vincent would be a enigmatic, stoic, very sexually attractive, of emo, psychedelic existentialist. I think that covers it. And Vincent is a large part of how I've been able to watch this film 10 times in 2 years. Although, well, no, perhaps it's 3 years. Either way, I've seen this film many times in only a few years, and Vincent is a big part of that. I can watch his story over and over again, and it will just, I don't think it'll ever get old for me. So, after having said that, it occurs to me that I should point out, even though he is my favorite character, I recognize that he's not a good person, and his actions in the film towards one of the other characters, if you've seen the film, you know the scene I'm dancing around. If you if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. His actions towards one of the female characters in the film are definitely not acceptable. They weren't in 2001, nor are they in 2021. But I feel like I probably needed to put that out there in very clear, direct terms, so alright. So I have a podcast called Screen Time that can be found on this channel, and if you've watched the most recent episode, you know I have a special sort of relationship with this film in that I'm 95% sure every time I've watched this film I've been herbally enhanced. Um, and don't get me wrong, you don't have to be to enjoy the film, or the TV show for that matter. You know, this was made in Japan, so I kind of doubt they have any intentions for it to be that sort of movie, you know? But let's say, and I'm not condoning that you do, let's say you happen to trip and fall on a bong, and then you get the urge to watch an animated action movie, you know, with slick, badass fight scenes, awesome action, and just enough existentialist themes to scratch that itch. I think this is going to be perfect. I mean, it might not be perfect for you. It is for me. This film, just perfection when you get into that mood. But, you know, everyone experiences that sort of thing differently, but just know that that is my experience with the film. That's the lens I'm viewing it through, so to speak. So, the animation, music, writing, it's all top-notch in this film. But the thing that I really want you to understand is that this is an incredibly well-crafted film. You know, it's not just a cartoon for adults that happens to look really cool. This is a well-crafted film. I would take the shot compositions and editing of Cowboy Bebop the movie up against any live-action film I've ever seen. So, I said it before in the podcast episode that I did on the film, and I think I stand by it. I'm officially claiming that Cowboy Bebop Knockin' on Heaven's Door is my favorite film. You know, I'm not sure how long it's going to be there. You know, I've had several favorite films in my lifetime, but currently Cowboy Bebop, Knockin' on Heaven's Door is my favorite film. So I really hope that you folks watch it. September 1st is the 20th anniversary of the film, and you need to watch it. There you go, there's the whole video in a couple seconds. Watch it. So, alright, like the video, subscribe to my channel, all that YouTube stuff. You know how the website works. Alright, so until next time, auf Wiedersehen.
Never anyone to share the game. A man who lived in dreams. That's who he was.